Hey, what's up, y'all? Martech79 here. We are back again today to talk about Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. Went and saw the movie Saturday night, and we let the weekend pass to kind of get out of spoiler territory. Go ahead and give out that spoiler warning now. I'm going to go heavily deep into my thoughts about the movie. I'm not going to really shy away from spoilers at all here. So thank you for clicking on the video, but, go ahead and click off now if you have not seen the movie yet. Okay, so Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. One thing you should definitely know about me, Chinese, Asian, Japanese culture has always held a special place in my heart. I mean, y'all know that for me, that my favorite anime show is Dragon Ball Z, and it has been for the last 25 years. So, just kung fu movies in general, seeing a martial arts displayed in an artistic fashion, such as how it was displayed here, because I'm always going to be very biased on how I review a movie like this, because the martial arts, specifically this kind, is always going to be an A+ in my book, even if it's surrounded around a bad movie. I usually tend to find the good in all kung fu movies. But it's different here. This storyline with this movie, just everything about it really just rubbed me all around the right way. The character interactions, the character development, the comedic, the charisma, just the all of the story points of the movie just really it was amazing from top to bottom, man. So of course, the story centers around Shang-Chi. He is a person that was born to Wenwu, who is a 1,000-year-old, basically immortal demigod who has taken control of the Ten Rings and who owns the Ten Rings organization. He is the true to color Mandarin, kind of like how we saw in Iron Man 3, except that was portrayed by some goofy guy named Trevor. We'll get to that in a second. But seeing the real life Mandarin, being the father of Shang-Chi, was just absolutely amazing. And just the interactions between the two characters, the kung fu scenes, it was rubbing all the right way. I know I keep talking about the kung fu scenes in the movie, man, but that was definitely the high point for me. It had a airbending style from Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's what the fighting choreography reminded me of the most. Just a lot of flipping, a lot of kicks, a lot of acrobatics, just stunning, man. And so I also wanted to talk about the relationship between Shang-Chi and Katie. They're best friends. They've been best friends for 10 years. Just Aquafina obviously portrays Katie. She was able to bring her comedic style to the movie, and it was absolutely magnificent. Pretty much every movie that I've seen Aquafina in, I have enjoyed thoroughly. Last movie I saw her in was Raya and the Last Dragon, where she portrayed Sisu, and she was able to really give that movie the shine that it deserved. Same thing here. I have no doubt that Disney is going to continue their relationship with Aquafina, and we're going to see her in way more movies going forward, animated and live action for sure. So anything, I don't know, she's definitely starting to become a golden child for them, because anything she touches is turning into box office gold. So, the relationship that she had with Shang-Chi, from like that goofy friendship that's kind of like slowly probably going to blossom into a romance eventually if we ever get a sequel to Shang-Chi. It's just really special to see. I've always been a glutton for the romantic and the antics of Marvel, and it's really no different here. Just, them going out to the karaoke bar to get drunk, taking Wong from Doctor Strange with them. Oh yeah, by the way, Wong is in this movie too. And after they won their final battle, seeing them go out and getting drunk, it was just one of my favorite parts of the movie. So let's also talk about his sister, Hualing. I believe I'm pronouncing that name correctly. If not, just correct me in the comments. I don't mind. But yes, I was very happy about her portrayal as this character as well. So she grew up along with Shang-Chi and around the temple with their dad or whatever. But she went through the whole, my dad ignored me because, mom got killed, and he couldn't look at her because her mom got killed, so she had to basically train herself in the martial arts because for some bizarre reason he wouldn't allow women to train in his temple, I guess. So that, I guess, that 1,000-year old way of not letting women do whoop de whoop kind of transpired here. So even with that, she was able to watch Shang-Chi's training and the other warriors in the temple, and pretty much teach herself to become a martial arts master as well, who is darn near on the same level as Shang-Chi, as we see throughout the movie. The fight choreography that we see between the two of them in the fight cage is just so good, man. This definitely had some of my favorite fighting scenes from any Marvel movie that I've ever seen. I think the only movie when it comes to fight scenes, like, just that one-on-one, normal guy versus normal guy fight choreography that has equal scenes that I enjoyed, probably Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I feel like everything else, you really is that superhero element where they're fighting with special powers and whatnot. Even though in the fights between Shang-Chi and Wenwu, obviously they're fighting with the Ten Rings as well, but definitely these fights between Shang-Chi and the Death Dealer and Hua Ling really was just rubbing me the right way. It's just so freaking good, man. So let's also talk about Wenwu. When it comes to superhero movies, y'all know that I always like to say that a superhero movie is as good as it wants to be, depending on how good or how bad the villain is. So the funny thing is, Wenwu, you really can't even orchestrate him as a villain. I mean, because his motivations, I mean, of course, he was a warlord for like thousands of years, but then he was going to this, sacred, place to find the secret power or whatever, and then he meets Shang-Chi and Hua Ling's mom, which you're seeing on screen right now, and just the choreography of their fight scene when they first meet each other, chef's kiss, absolute chef's kiss. Just the flirtatious, really gave me some Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon vibes. Just, oh God, I can't even find the words to express how much I loved that beginning scene of them meeting and doing that fight scene and falling in love. So I can understand the dude, going crazy when she gets killed by this gang that, he had wronged, years ago or whatever. They fall in love and get married, and he puts the 10 rings away and he starts to age normally like a normal guy. But of course, when they give up their powers, that's when shit hits the storm, and she gets killed, and he goes back to grabbing the 10 rings, and then he goes on a revenge journey and trains Shang-Chi to be a killer, and goes and takes out the gang that killed his wife, which, understandable. I'd probably do the same thing. Just saying. But definitely just that interactions between Shang-Chi and the actress that portrayed his mother, so good. She really portrayed that parental role to kind of motivate Shang-Chi, definitely up there with your Mufasas, so on and so forth. So, I mean, basically the main premise of the movie is that Wenwu sends Shang-Chi out to, kill the people that, killed his wife, and Shang-Chi succeeds, but instead of going back to the temple, he can't deal with himself, and then he goes into an exile for like, I think it was 6 or 7 years or so. So, Wenwu eventually sends all of his people to America to retrieve Shang-Chi and Hua Ling, because he has figured out a way to bring his wife back from the dead. Apparently the 10 rings are talking to him, and he has figured out a way to bring her back. So that's the main premise of the story, but it revolves around going back to the sacred palace or temple of where their mom is from, and Wenwu has to destroy it to apparently bring his wife back. But when it comes to when the Shang-Chi and Hua Ling get there first, of course, through Trevor and the faceless demon cuddly monster that they decided to bring back. That's pretty cool. So speaking of Trevor, Trevor is the character from Iron Man 3 that was pretending to be the Mandarin who was doing all the terrorist attacks and whatnot, and turned out to be this goofy actor. And I don't think I've ever met one Marvel fan that liked that aspect of Iron Man 3. It's probably one of the most hated MCU changes or debacles in Marvel history. So I guess they tried to rectify that by bringing him back in this movie to maybe give him a more prominent role of leading Shang-Chi and Hualing and Katie into the secret or sacred forest or the lost woods. I was definitely getting like some Legend of Zelda vibes when the woods was trying to swallow them up and the trees were chasing them. Please don't click off the video. But yeah, when they eventually get to Tai Lo, the sacred secret village, who's just been somehow sitting in the middle of Earth for all these years, and nobody has been able to find it for all this time, even with modern technology. Okay, I don't really know quite how that works, but okay. I definitely don't claim to say that this movie has all the best plot elements, but it was so good. I still enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm very biased when it comes to Asian culture, so bear with me here. But there we meet Shang-Chi's aunt, who bears a striking resemblance to Geisha from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which, how about that? It is actually the same actress. So it was very cool to see her take a mentoring role and kind of fill that void that was left by Shang-Chi's mom. And yeah, it was very cool to see him and Qualine kind of, meet their aunt and cope and get trained and see Katie be trained in archery. It was so cool, man. Just definitely some good feels all around. So I'm sure, as you've seen in some of the trailers, that Abomination makes a cameo appearance. The trailer kind of makes it look like that he's going to be fighting Shang-Chi, but he's actually fighting Wong. And it looks like they're just doing like a training exercise more than anything else. So there was a lot of confusion around this scene, but my own personal take on it, I think that Wong is training him to find control within himself, just like Hulk needed to do. And I think this is eventually going to lead him to become a member of the Thunderbolts with General Ross and Yelena and, the new Hawk girl and the new member of that team. I think that's what's eventually going to lead to that Disney Plus show. So very excited to see what happens with that. So by the third act of the film, I would say, is when things definitely started to get a little bit wonky. We're seeing all these mythical creatures in Tai Lo. And of course, Wenwu and his army makes their way to the paradise. And him and Shang-Chi have their first fight where basically he decimates Shang-Chi. And, the audience wants you to think that Shang-Chi has drowned inside of this ocean pool-like thing or whatever. And then Wenwu goes to this door and he starts beating it down because he thinks his wife is behind there, but in actuality it's this ancient demon that's pretending to have his wife's voice and trying to convince him to let it out. And then these demons start to come out, where basically that's hilarious because Shang-Chi and Katie are calling them soul suckers is basically what they are. They kind of definitely gave me a Shang Tsung Mortal Kombat vibe. Your soul is mine. Suckity suck. Then we cut back to Shang-Chi, who is drowning in this pool, and then the magical dragon of mythical Tai Lo springs from absolutely out of nowhere and breathes life back into Shang-Chi. At first I thought this was kind of somehow his mom's spirit kind of coming back from the beyond to give him back his life, but I was wrong. It ended up being the special dragon. So then they fly up, and this is when definitely it starts to get very CGI heavy. Now when it comes to the CGI in this, it was not terrible at all. Definitely not the best I've ever seen, but it was okay. It was fair, man. And then Shang-Chi and Wenwu end up having their final battle, and then Shang-Chi remembers his training with his mom and his auntie, and then he masters air bending and metal bending. And he's able to take partial control of the rings, and he takes 5 rings, and then Wenwu takes 5 rings, and they have this glorious epic battle. Definitely one of my favorite final battles in all of Marvel, for sure. That was so good, man. So freaking good. The choreography to this fight definitely the one final battle that I can compare it to. Let's do a Black Panther and Killmonger. As much as I love Black Panther, that's like the one black spot of that movie that I've always hated. I hate that CGI heavy fight between those two, and I feel like if you're gonna do a CGI fight, you got to do it right, and I think they really did it justice here. And then, Shang-Chi eventually gets the best of Wenwu, of course, and then you think everything is done and the movie's going to end. But then the mother lode, the super soul sucker, breaks forth from the door, and then you feel like all hope is lost. And then, of course, his first victim is Wenwu. He grabs hold of him, and in Wenyu's last declaring act, he releases control of the Ten Rings and gives them to Shang-Chi. Very powerful moment right there. I loved every second of that. It's so good, man. Instead of trying to defend himself, he gives the Ten Rings to his son. And then Shang-Chi takes control of the Ten Rings and the color changes from blue to gold. Very cool effect. It's almost like blue kind of represented the darkness of the death of the Ten Rings. Then as they turned to the color gold, it kind of represented the life and the love that Shang-Chi possesses, I guess. So really a nice touch. So, and then of course, Shang-Chi utilizes the power of the Ten Rings and the power of the dragon and him together with the help of Kuo Ling and the archers and everybody else on the island with the final impact, arrow hit from Katie to the Super Soul Sucker's throat as he's about to, take his final blow. Shang-Chi delivers the freaking biggest super Kamehameha in real life that I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was so awesome that Katie even takes it upon herself to mention that, like, yeah, he just fired this Kamehameha into the Super Soul Sucker's mouth. Yes. You do not understand that inner glee of happiness that filled my spirit when I heard her say that. And I'm like, yes, Disney's learning. You have to reference these things because, you had to have taken some kind of inspiration from Dragon Ball Z. It's too big not to. I mean, come on. Clearly it was some inspiration taken from Dragon Ball Z and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Come on. I love it. Now, final credit scenes. Kuo Ling takes over the Ten Rings organization. It's kind of funny that she told, Shang-Chi and Katie that she was just going to shut it down, where in actuality, she's going to retake over the organization and shape it into her own. She's added some graffiti. She's letting female assassins and ninjas enter the temple and train just like the male. Can't wait to see where that storyline takes us. I doubt if we see that take us into like an Avengers film or whatever. That's probably going to be an overall theme in Shang-Chi too. But nonetheless, I cannot wait to see where that goes. That's going to be awesome. I don't know if she's necessarily going to be an antagonist, but I think she's still going to be an ally, to be completely honest. And then the credits scene, we have Bruce and Captain Marvel and Wong trying to determine what is going on with the Ten Rings. And yes, you heard me correctly. I did not say Professor Hulk. I didn't say Hulk. I said Bruce. Bruce is back to normal Bruce Banner, and he still has the sling with his devastated arm in the sling. Yeah, he is still, at this point, has not recovered from utilizing the nano gauntlet to bring half of existence back to reality. How about that? So that looks like that is going to be a lifelong injury, and that is probably going to be the thing that sidelines him from entering any more action in the movie. So cool aspect though. Probably definitely going to make room for She-Hulk. Can't wait to see how that storyline played out. And apparently, within the Ten Rings, a beacon has started to it's either calling to something or something is coming to it or whatever. We don't know yet. But of course, that's left as the big cliffhanger in the movie. So, in final and closing takeaway thoughts from the movie, is it my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe? No. Did I not like it? No, I absolutely love this film with the Chinese culture, the fight choreography, the storyline between Shang-Chi and Katie, Kuo Ling. Wenwu is definitely one of the top tier antagonists in a Marvel film for sure. Some pacing issues from time to time. Some of the CGI was a little bit spotty, but like I said, still just a solid entry into the long-running MCU, and I hope we see way more of Shang-Chi, Katie, and Kuo Ling in future films. So very, very enjoyed this film. I get very confused when I see some people saying like, "Oh, this sucks. This is the worst MCU movie ever." Okay, you're a fool. I don't know what you're talking about. You're probably just trying to clickbait videos or comments, man. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. So now I want to know your thoughts. Do me a favor and comment something on the video. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let's talk about it, man. I want to know. So, all right, man. Hopefully you enjoyed my take on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I've always been a huge fan of the MCU. Can't wait to see what they do next. I believe Spider-Man 3 is next. So, yeah. All right, man. As always, thanks everybody for watching. You can follow me at youtube.com/marjack79. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Make sure you hit that notification bell icon so that you know whenever I upload a new video. We virtually do all of the comic book movies, you know, Marvel, DC, so on and so forth. So stay tuned for that, man. So, and as always, I will see you guys on the next one. Catch you guys later. Bye.